Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders wants more transparency in the Federal Reserve, higher milk prices for farmers, a public option health insurance, and a clear exit strategy in Afghanistan. Those are issues that will be discussed when Congress gets back from its August recess. The senator sat down with our Darren Perrin for a one-on-one interview.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think a good place to start, you've expressed concern lately that we could possibly be getting into yet another quagmire in the war in Afghanistan.
I am just not sure what our goal is in Afghanistan. As you know, we originally went in there with the goal of trying to capture Osama bin Laden. That was 8 years ago. This is twice as long as World War II has lasted. And now that goal has kind of shifted to nation building, and that concerns me because Afghanistan is a very tough nation to rebuild, and I'm not hearing that there's an exit strategy. So when you don't have a goal and you don't have an exit strategy and you're pouring more and more young men and women into the war, I think at the very least we need a full-throated debate in the Congress about what our goals are and what our exit strategy is.
As you know, a large number of Vermont soldiers set to deploy to the war zone. You're not saying, though, it's time for us to withdraw, take our troops out of there?
You can't do that tomorrow by any means.
We've also been talking and hearing your points being made about more transparency in the Federal Reserve.
Basically, what we're asking, among many other things, is the fact that the Fed has lent out over $2 trillion to financial institutions at zero-interest loans. Do you know who those financial institutions were? You don't. Nobody does. That is absurd. $2 trillion. $2 trillion of American taxpayers' money at risk. We don't even know who got it. We don't know what the terms are, the repayment schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So we need a lot more transparency in the Fed, an institution which has an enormous power over our economy.
Do you think that some of that money had gone to some of these bailed out banks that then turned around and gave out big bonuses? Is that the concern?
That is a real likelihood. And what we need and what we're working on is an investigation to see exactly what the causation of this crisis was, and B, to hold those people who have brought about the worst recession since the 1930s. We've got to hold them accountable. And thirdly, we have to learn from our mistakes and make sure that we do not allow Wall Street to continue these practices.
Some critics have said that disclosing this kind of information could ultimately hurt banks.
Well, could hurt some banks on Wall Street whose functioning has led to the most serious recession in 70 years. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I do think that we need to take a hard look at the way these, the way the Fed and some of these Wall Street institutions are operating. Of course we do.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Senator Sanders also says that health care reform will dominate discussions when Congress reconvenes, and he expects that a public option will still be in the final plan, but it must still get approval from several committees in the House and Senate and the Obama administration. The president will address Congress Wednesday night on his proposed health care overhaul.